Welcome, beautiful friends, to the Way of Mastery. We are wrapping up lesson number 12C tonight, the last deepening of the Way of the Heart. We began this well over a year ago, going lesson by lesson through the Way of the Heart. For those of you who are new, the Way of Mastery is 3 books. The first 12 lessons are the Way of the Heart, the middle 12 lessons are the Way of Transformation, and the last 12 lessons are the Way of Knowing. So anyway, we have been taking these first 12 lessons and going through them literally paragraph by paragraph. And I share my own experience of these teachings and my communion with Jeshua as we went through them together. In the desire and intent to extend to others walking the pathway, tips, clues, pebbles, any kind of thing that may quicken your own journey of remembrance. So we're going to wrap up the Way of the Heart tonight. Receive the pearls of grace. Who's been receiving a lot of grace? Yeah, how about that? How about that? I met some new friends who just by chance ended up at an I Am the Word event, and they both got great pearls of grace and didn't even know what they were getting themselves into. Isn't that great? You know, the Father knows what we need even before we ask. So cool. So we'll get started tonight with the Aramaic Lord's Prayer. Again, for those of you who are new, this is JM. His name is John Mark too, but he's a different John Mark. The channel for the Way of Mastery, his name's John Mark Hammer. This is Jeshua speaking through him in Yeshua's native Aramaic, the Lord's Prayer, as Jeshua would have spoken it.
WOM, Devashmaya, Nita Kadash Shema. Tete Malkuda, Neve Sitinach, Akina the Boshmaya O Baraha, Haulan Lachman, Sunkanan Yamana, Boshwoklan Halbain, Akina Dapanan, Shwakin Nil Hayabain, Ula Talan El Nishan, El Pasan Membisha. But de la Chim el Kuda, Uhaila, Utish Bhakta, La Alam, Amen. Amen.
And Cindy's going to read an English translation, unlike the one we've been accustomed to.
Father, Mother of the cosmos, shimmering light of all, focus your light within us as we breathe your holy breath. Enter the sanctuary of our hearts, uniting within us the sacred rays of your power and beauty. Let your heart's desire unite heaven and earth through our sacred union. Help us fulfill what lies within the circle of our lives today. Forgive our secret fears as we freely choose to forgive the secret fears of others. Let us not enter forgetfulness, tempted by false appearances. For from your astonishing fire comes the eternal song which sanctifies all, renewed eternally in our lives and throughout creation. We seal these words in our hearts, committed in trust and faith. Amen.
Near the end of the Way of the Heart, in lesson number 9, Jeshua delivers this practice. He calls it 5 minutes of abiding as Christ. For those of you who are I Am the Word fans, you might notice at the end of that book, they've increased that to a 10-minute request to abide for 10 minutes. I would encourage you to abide in all minutes. In the eternal now, abide consciously as the awakened Christ. But Cindy's going to read this through us and then we'll do it together.
Begin now to utilize some time each day, without letting a day go by, in which you sit with yourself. Sit with you and start by acknowledging that you are one with God. Give yourself 5 minutes to choose, to practice choosing how you will experience sitting in a chair. Practice sitting in a chair as an infinite creator of exactly what you are experiencing in your emotional field. Utilize this very process as a symbol of preparing the mind for the dropping of a pebble into it, out of which will reverberate the vibrations or ripples that will come back to you. Therefore, where you are in this moment, look around. Look at the objects that you see. Look at the people that you see around you, if there are any. Whatever sounds may be coming into your field of awareness, whatever pictures or ideas you would hold of what you are or what the world is, these are all fleeting and temporary illusions. They will pass away, and began passing away the moment they were created. Look at all that is around you, and decide what value it holds for you. Will you see it as something that you must have in your existence? Or will you choose to see it as something you've playfully drawn to yourself? You appreciate it, and it can be gone tomorrow, and your peace will not be disturbed. Which way will you view the world? It begins with 5 minutes, in which you acknowledge that you can create whatever experience you want, as a feeling that floods through your awareness, as a quality of thought that you allow to keep repeating in the mind. You can sit in a chair as an awakened Christ now. For just 5 minutes, experience yourself as Christ, crystallizing a body as a temporary teaching and learning communication device, plopping itself into a chair in a totally neutral corner of creation because you want to have the experience of sitting blissfully at peace in your perfect knowledge of your union with God in this moment.
Now, all of Yeshua's pathways are unique because he doesn't start with we're not what God created us to be. Rather, he says we are what God created us to be. We always have been and we always will be. We're just asleep to that fact. So not that we must journey on an infinitely long pathway of remembrance in any moment. By simply the power of our choice, we're able to begin abiding in the consciousness that I know, to use the word, I am word vernacular, I know who I am, I know what I am, and I know how I serve. That there is no God outside of us causing anything to happen, whether it be an inner experience or what we seem to be seeing out in the screen of the world, but that we're free in every moment to experience what we desire to experience. And that's what this 5 minutes is getting to recognize, you know what, you can sit there and decide to experience contraction and your body will immediately accommodate that request. And then you can say, well, I want to experience expansion, and you'll feel that expansion. So that you begin to come to the realization, you know what, this isn't happening to me, I'm actually doing it. Let me wake up and be conscious to that instead of unconscious or asleep to it. So we'll join together for 5 minutes in whatever way you feel moved to abide as Christ. I'm going to abide as the clowny Christ for 5 minutes. Shanti Cristo, Christ peace. That's cool. If you do that for 5 minutes, it's just 5 minutes. Just do one 5 minute after the next 5 minute, 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 till minutes don't matter and it's just now. So we're going to deepen tonight's lesson. This is the last deepening. Feel free to like what I have to say or not. You're absolutely free. If some of what I share works for you, if it pisses you off, that's great too. You can throw out what I share about it and use what you think for yourself if you so prefer.
Imagine then that is your destiny, to take up your rightful place beside me, to join your brothers and sisters in infinite and perfect creativity, like a harp player who would ceaselessly run the fingers across the strings, creating the most beautiful notes, and the combinations never cease. And in every moment, you experience the fruit of the flowers springing forth from the garden that you have well prepared to receive the rain of grace, evermore, 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 the good, the holy, and the beautiful, flowing through your unobstructed mind that rest in perfect marriage or union with that which is your creator, your source. Not a bad way to spend eternity. But if you look ahead and feel that there is a distance between where you are and where that reality is, you will miss the opportunities required right where you are to practice where you're going by being it now. You have heard it said that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, and the beginning is every bit as important as the end. For in the beginning, the end is already present. The way of transformation, then, asks you to truly become present where you are, to deliberately and consciously cultivate, with every thought and every breath, the willingness necessary that allows the root of fear to be dissolved, so that the good and the holy and the beautiful is all that emanates from you, like a beacon being sent out to creation around you.
So for 12 lessons, without missing a single one, he has spoken about our perfect equality with him as perfect and infinite creators. Not that we will become like him, but that we are now as he is. So just look in your life. Where are you looking at others not as an equal? Where are you looking and seeing yourself maybe more spiritually advanced than others, maybe wiser, maybe you get it and they don't? Just look at where you're making all kinds of distinctions, because that's all being held within your egoic consciousness. All comparison and contrast is a function of the ego. So he's made it very clear he doesn't see any difference between us. That's not to say that he doesn't recognize that we may not be consciously aware of our equality, but he doesn't judge the fact that we've made some other choices to play in different ways than he's currently playing. So the point is, just look in your own consciousness, where are you still drawing distinctions? This can be very illuminating, because if you make a distinction between you and a spiritual teacher or someone else, then you're really saying, I'm not equal to that being. When Jeshua said, the least of these is equal to the greatest of these, what he meant was it takes the exact same infinite creative power to create your experience as you're having it right now as it took him to create his experience of Christ. There is no difference. We're just doing it for different purposes. So the one who looks like a homeless person on the street is just as infinitely created, held just as perfectly within the mind of God, choosing for whatever reasons that soul chooses to have that experience. How much courage and willingness do you think it takes to have that experience in this world? and to receive the judgments and condemnations of all kinds of other beings. I mean, that's really what this whole realm was about, was how do we play with each other like we don't know who we are. So just look, where are you seeing distinctions? And ask your guides, ask the Spirit, help me see where I'm saying, you know what, I am not like this person. I'm not a perfect equal to this one. That one seems to have more power than I do. I'm helpless, but they seem really powerful. All of that is just the story you've made up in your mind to perpetuate your separate identity. He invites us into communion with Him. He'll guide us, but He's simply trying to guide us to the perfect recognition that we're already equals and we always have been. And that the way we have used our power to play out the game of separation is not a problem, it's not wrong, and it's not bad, and there's no need to feel guilty about it. Just wake up to it and then choose consciously, because when you're consciously aware of it, you'll choose to create the good, the holy, and the beautiful. Because you'll recognize you had to get unconscious to think that creating lack and scarcity was a good idea. You had to be unconscious to think that, death and bodies and sickness and all that stuff was a good idea. So He's simply asking us to wake up to that and join Him in infinite and perfect creativity. Now, if you take some time to actually notice, we're right in the middle of heaven. Has anyone noticed the infinite creative expression going on right here on this planet? I mean, it's not like there's one shape of body. It's not like there's one flower. It's not like there's only one shape of clouds. It's infinite creative expression being made manifest right now. And oftentimes we completely don't even notice. We've become so unconscious to the fact that we're collectively spontaneously and effortlessly creating this ceaseless expression of infinite creative potential. We miss the miracle literally right in our face. So if you want, ask your guides to help wake you up so you can see that. And you'll see that the combinations never cease. You'll never be able to find two moments like the last. I mean, even if you think you're doing nothing, you got molecules in your body that are whirling around. They're not in the same place. Nothing's ever the same. It's impossible for manifest creation to ever be static. So anyway, if you want to, then you can experience in every moment the fruits of your garden. He used the symbol in this lesson, and he's used it a couple times so far in the pathway, about cultivating a field in your consciousness that is free of weeds, that's free of fear, that's free of guilt, that's free of beliefs in the past, that's free of fear of the future, all that kind of stuff. And then you get to recognize, oh my gosh, my conscious awareness is present now. That's the only place it can be present. And it is chocked full to overflowing of creation. And it always has been. And because I've judged it and not really been present, I've not been in the amazement and wonder of what's happening right now. I mean, it's just so miraculous what the truth of creation is. It's a lot of fun. Whew. So then you'll be well prepared to receive the rain of grace. And another symbol for rain of grace is simply revelation. Every one of us here have experienced it, where something drops in. It's like a gift. We didn't really ask for it, but bam, all of a sudden we know something we didn't know. We see with clarity where before we had confusion. Someone mentioned to me they had a healing miracle yesterday. Well, bingo, that's rains of grace. That's revelation, because a space has been cultivated in someone's consciousness that says, you know what? I'm not bound by the physical laws. This isn't a physical ailment. This is just something in my mind which can be instantly corrected. But if we're rooted in the belief that we're bodies and diseases are real and they take time and well, then that's how it plays out. But if you get rid of all those ideas of time and space and lack and scarcity and sickness and death, it's pretty damn miraculous what can start dropping in your consciousness. But so long as you've got it full of beliefs that you know what reality is, there's not a lot of room for anything else. So it's about keeping that field clear. And Jeshua shared with me when I was working with him on this pathway, that's all he does. He doesn't have a consciousness that's full of 2,000 years worth of accumulated knowledge. He has a vast and infinite mind, like us, that is absolutely empty. So that all that he needs in a particular moment will drop in. So when he was channeling these pathways, it's not like he got together with God and took all kinds of notes and then channeled them through JM. It was Yeshua's open consciousness joined with JM's open mind, and then revelation came, and this pathway is the result of instant creative expression, not based on anything that had ever come before. So it's not about, we get past this whole idea that we're learning, and we're trying to keep old knowledge. You want to, it's like you don't want to drag the previous stones from your pathway with you. They're completely irrelevant. They were only good when you stepped on them, whenever you stepped on them. You want to be spacious, light, and frankly naked, carry nothing, because the stone that you're stepping on, all that you're going to need is going to be expressed in that moment. And then in the next stone, whatever you need will come. So it's about staying empty, not filling yourself up. He'll say it at the end of this pathway. He said it in A Course in Miracles. Forget this course. Don't become a master theologist about A Course in Miracles or a way of mastery. That's missing the point. They're just designed to get you connected with guidance and get you willing to begin to empty your consciousness without fear, so that you can rest open and spacious, and you can simply be the vehicle through which love or the mind of God expresses itself. And it's not a bad way to spend eternity. And by the way, you can enter eternity anytime you want. In your 5 minutes of abiding in His Christ, you probably got in it. And then you can turn right around and step out and play time and space some more and back in and out. The point is, it's not just after physical death when you can begin to experience the truth of, he calls it in this pathway, the queendom, because we get past this whole gender bias that God's a man. God doesn't have dangly bits that constitute him as a man, nor the absence of. So, you can just call it all that is if that works better for you, but get past all that, separation even of the Father and Son. But if you look ahead and feel there's a distance between where you are and where reality is, meaning if you're constantly saying love, awakening, truth is in the future, and I've got to get there, you're going to miss the opportunities to experience the truth that's true now, because you're going to be creating a truth that it's not true now, and I've got to get better at it. I've got to become more. I've got to do. So you'll be filling up truth with your illusion of being a seeker. And in that, you'll miss opportunities to simply be present with the mystery that is creation, which is always here. So I think he said earlier in this lesson, seek to seek no more, and to stop efforting and stop striving, because the efforting and the striving to awaken or enlightenment or whatever are actually resting on a misperception that you're not already one with God. And of course, we all already are one with God. It's kind of crazy that we actually convinced ourselves somehow we could get outside of all that is. Well, of course, then it wouldn't be all that is, would it? But we believed it. So anyway. In the beginning, the end is already present. We talked about this. We've done a beautiful waking up to the movies that had this symbol in it. But in the beginning is the end. When he walked the world, he asked one of the disciples asked, how will the world end? And he says, why do you care about how it will end? Find the beginning. And if you find the beginning, you'll have the end. And that's true of any of us who've experienced it embodied. You recognize the beginning and the end are one. And there actually is no time between them. It's very, very interesting when you truly see that. And if your consciousness is opened up enough, that revelation can drop in. So, to be present where you are, to deliberately and consciously cultivate with every thought and every breath the willingness necessary to allow the root of fear to be dissolved. To allow the root of fear to be dissolved. To allow Early in the pathway, he said there were 4 keys to the kingdom: desire, intention, allowance, and surrender. It's your willingness to allow it. It's your willingness to simply go from contraction to openness. I mean, if you're all balled up and you're holding on a past memory, Spirit's not going to come pry it out of your hand. You have to be willing to open it up. And then Spirit comes in the thief in the night and takes it away. And the next time you see that person, you're not triggered and you're like, what happened? I don't know how any of that happens either. But we're not the undoers of it. We're simply the ones that are willing to allow that it be undone and we be restored to our perfect awareness that we're already one. And then you just walk around like a beautiful light. Somebody was telling me there's that guy who just stands there and gazes at people. That's cool. I mean, just radiating the pure love of Christ without the need for words, without the need for symbols, without the need for pathways, without the need for selling books. Here's your 12 steps to stand as Christ and just radiate it. Just simply being it. And that's what we all want truly in our heart, is just the effortless presence of being, without needing to fit some spiritual concept or socially acceptable norms, to simply be. And if that involves standing there and radiating as Christ, or wearing clown's noses, or actually teaching pathways, that's kind of secondary to the beingness of it.
Do not delay. Do not waste time. Time can indeed be wasted, but listen well, for time can also waste. You have a saying we would perceive in many of your silly little movies where someone gets wasted. I'll go and waste Charlie. How many times have you been the mafia leader that said to yourself, well, I think I'll just waste myself? How many times have you gone unconscious? How many ways have you numbed your feelings? How many ways have you judged your brother or sister? How many ways have you decided to hold on to thoughts that say, I could never do that. What's the point? It's a waste. Oh yes, you just put a gun to your head and pulled the trigger. You've wasted yourself by wasting time. Every moment is a doorway through which the good and the holy and the beautiful can be expressed. The cultivation of the consciousness through which the power to do so grows. Oh, beloved friends, those moments of your time are very precious. Do not look out upon the world and go, well, what the heck? It's just the same old world.
How many times have you been the mafia leader that said, well, I think I'll just go waste myself? We're so deeply rooted in our individual experience of this lifetime in this body that we're certain we're not the other people, therefore we're not responsible for what other people seem to be doing. In truth, we're every incarnation that's ever been. Christ is one consciousness, infinite and whole, yet it does have individuated expression, but we've been it all. If you've seen a murderer and the victim, and I don't mean like physically seen them, then you have experienced that because those beings are not apart from you. You are one with them. So literally, you're the murderer and the murdered. We're the child and the child molester. We're the mother nursing the infant. We're the whole thing. And when you truly begin to open up to that, you start to stop this practice in time of trying to continue to separate yourself from everyone else, because you recognize your safety's not in separation, it's actually in the embrace that is all of creation. And that it's okay, there's not any judgment. The whole purpose of this realm was to come play with energies that seemed like they weren't heavenly. So the best use of time is in awakening. Awakening from all the ideas and concepts and energies and beliefs and desires that you have that perpetuate, I'm separate, distinct, and different from everyone else. And that doesn't mean you become like everyone else. Some people completely misperceive oneness, that it's supposed to be like sameness. Oneness is allness, means it includes all and every expression. Already oneness is including all the infinite expressions of bodies that we have. It's not like, how much fun would it be if everybody physically looked the same? That wouldn't be much fun at all. You've seen some of those futuristic movies where it's like everybody dresses the same, and that's not at all what it's about. So every moment is the doorway through which you can step into the truth and experience the vastness of what we are. Right where you are, experiencing what you are. And that could mean sitting on a mountaintop and simply enjoying the vista. How many of you have done that under the stars and just for a moment recognized it's so vast and I seem completely insignificant? Well, if you'll just move from I'm completely insignificant and feel the vastness of it, you'll have a whole different experience of it. And you can welcome that vastness. You can welcome the recognition that everything is not out there. It's actually arising all within my conscious awareness. And that doesn't mean, so gone is the idea that you stop at the edge of your skin. So you start to do that, and anyone can do that. You can drop that pebble in your pond. I'm an infinite being. I and the Father are one, so that must mean the omnipresence of God is here now. And if I'm one with that, wow, how might my experience be different rather than thinking I'm just this body? The little I am the Word thing this weekend, we did a little psychic thing where he had us read another person. And of course, everybody did it. Everybody in the room kind of felt another being's presence. Because we're not actually separate. When you get past this idea that we're separate bodies, but that we share one consciousness, all of a sudden, all kinds of stuff can start showing up in your experience. So use those doorways because they're precious. Because if you don't learn to practice it, if you're holding the idea that after death, all of a sudden the veil drops, it's not. If you're wearing sunglasses, metaphorically, then you're going to have those after death. So it's the purpose of time is to wake up in time. That was a whole Christian thing to keep people from actually waking up in life by doing this whole, maybe if you're good in life, you'll be more fearful, then you'll get the holy crown after. That's all crazy bullshit. So what the heck? He says, don't do this. What the heck? It's just the same world. How many of us go through routines and we're simply not even present? Drive the same route to work and don't even notice. Have the same experience and don't even notice. When right there, we're in the moment of creation, we could be present to it and in awe and wonder. And looking, what new can be revealed to me in this moment? What have I not seen? What have I not experienced? Have I ever noticed how the steering wheel really feels in your hands? And how was it that consciousness expressed itself as a body that could feel and then expressed cars to move bodies around? There's so much wonder to have if you're actually open to it. So use time wisely.
Remember then, as you begin to come to the completion of this year's Way of the Heart, that what you see outside of you is only the reflection of what you have allowed to live within you. And simply ask, is this what I wish to continue? What do I truly want? What is this, my very consciousness, for? What do I commit myself to? What do I say I believe? Where do I freely choose to place the power of valuation? For what you value, you experience immediately, and the world will bow down and say, very well, you have let us know what you value. We will mirror it back to you because we love you, because we're part of you, and heaven forbid that we would take away your free will. So, if you value hopelessness, the world will be a hopeless place. If you value lack of golden coins, you will continue to see lack of golden coins. Flow of energy is all that means. If you value loneliness, you will continue to be alone. If you value the right to be in judgment of another, you will experience the fruit of separation. If you value sweetness, sweetness will come. If you value receiving love, listen to this carefully. If you value receiving love, the world will begin to show up at your doorstep in completely different embodiments. Different vibrations, different thought patterns will be mirrored back to you that let you receive love. For nothing can be received until the place is prepared for it to enter, and you can only give what you have been willing to receive. If you receive a drop of water into your glass, that is all you can give to another. But he that receives all gives all, and he that gives all receives tenfold more.
The simplest symbol that Jeshua used with me in this is a mirror. He's like, you're standing there looking in the mirror going, gosh, when I wake up, everything will be different. He said, that's like standing there waiting for the mirror to smile. Like the mirror's going to do it first on its own. He said, you've got to recognize you are awake now and smile, and then the mirror reflects it back. That's all the universe is. Your body's simply a communication device. You are communicating your vibration to the universe, and the universe very joyfully and dutifully reflects it back to you. So if you want something to change, you have to recognize your cause and not effect. Our egoic consciousness is deeply rooted in, I'm effect of what's happening in the world. None of this is my fault. I'm the innocent victim here. Well, you are welcome to be the innocent victim and just look in the mirror crying about how an innocent victim you are and how desperately you want to smile and be happy. But the mirror cannot reflect it back until you decide to change. And are you willing to pick up the power that we all have as Christ, recognizing if I'm unhappy, I've been using the power to be unhappy. So just use it for happiness. Just use it for peace. Use it for joy. Because what you give is going to come back. That's just the way it is in the universe. And nothing has to change first. Nothing out there can change first until you change. So what is it you truly want? Then you have to recognize I already have it. And I'm not so much talking about things. You can go back to The Secret if you'd like to back up on your pathway a really long way and do The Secret. This isn't so much about things. He's talking about a state of beingness. If you want to give peace, then you must choose for peace in every moment regardless of what's happening around you. And when you do that, the outside's going to start shifting and start reflecting peace back to you. So we can all, if you want to know what you truly value, look at what your life is right now. That's what you value. And do you want to keep those things? If so, great. If not, well then get about changing your mind about whatever it is you want to change your mind about. But you have to recognize you already have it to give. And you have it because of the power of your choice. It's your choice that creates it. I want to be joyful. Well, and then we sit there looking in the mirror. Well, I want to be so joyful. I want to be so joyful. I want to be so joyful. If only this would happen. If only that would happen. If only this would happen. So you sit there having no joy. Each and every one of you can create joy in your own being, without having to have situations or circumstances happen first. So this is about becoming an infinitely creative creator consciously, and then let the universe do what the universe does. Act as the mirror. And when the reflections come, whether they're reflecting back to you what you want or what you think you don't want, they're a reflection nonetheless. Will you get the message and go, you know what? I've been asking every brother and sister on the planet to reflect sickness back to me. Wow. I'm glad they love me so much to show me my beliefs, but I'm going to change. I don't want sickness in my life. So I'm going to change me. I'm going to start smiling anew, singing a new tune, vibrating a new frequency, and then watch what happens. But he makes the point here, but he that receives all gives all. He said the same thing in the Course in Miracles. In order to have all, give all. So what if you greeted every being you interacted with, behold, the Creator stands before me, and I love this one. And you give them the infinite freedom to be an infinite creator and create whatever they wish, no matter what it looks like. Because it's not your responsibility to judge them. Unless you want to reserve the right to judge, then you're going to experience the fruits of separation. If you want to be unconditionally loved, then be unconditionally loving. If you want to experience wakefulness, then experience the one before you as awake to what their experience is. And there's no limit on this. We've all chosen to experience the dream of separation, and what do you know? We got a whole world of Shakespearean actors reflecting it back to us. Over and over and over and over and over. But if you start reflecting the Christ, all of a sudden those who are also wanting the Christ, you may end up with a living room full. Because that's just the way it works. I mean, the universe is like the ultimate eHarmony universe. But it's an energetic harmony that it's always bringing into balance. So there's not a one of us here who doesn't want all, because it's the very nature of what our being is. We say, oh, I can't have all. No, I'm not worthy of that. Maybe later, whatever. That's all ego crap. But the point is, you're going to get what you give. So even in your mind, you can start greeting, and he's got a bunch of these in the Course in Miracles about greeting your brother. You are innocent and free. You are the holy child of God. I mean, whether you say it or not, you can say it in your mind. And you'll see all your mind's objections to that. You'll say, oh, no, that's a really bad thing to be doing. That person can't be holy. Of course, they're still holy no matter what choice they seem to be making. So anyway, it's not that you're what's out here. This is just showing you what you think you are in here. So be cause, not effect. If you wish, being effect sucks. But it's only because you're creating a cause of being at effect. That's the ironic thing. We use our divinity to deny it. So it's up to you. You're free to do whatever you would like. So go home and be willing to look with the Spirit. Ask the Spirit, what is it I truly value? Whatever the amount of your bank account is, that's what you're valuing. Whatever the status of your relationships are, that's what you're valuing. You're free to value something else. You're free to value unlimitedness instead of limitedness. You're free to value eternal life instead of life and death. You're free to value perfect health instead of sickness. Nobody can stop what anyone values. Just be conscious to it. Don't be unconscious to littleness because that's what everyone else has mirrored back to you. I don't know, but he was a pretty powerful mirror. He mirrored back to all of us. You were way more friggin' powerful than we think, including instant manifestation, the ability to, defy the laws of physics, even get the body to the bloated instinctive stage after seeming death and resurrect it. I don't know about you, but I'm for one glad that somebody had the courage to stand up as cause and reflect the different potential to us. And we all have that same potential because, again, perfect equals using the same creative power. It starts with your thinking, because your thinking leads to your beliefs lead to experience, yada, 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 yada. So you just got to get conscious to that whole process on all those levels.
So, it's been a good year, and we have watched with great amusement at times, but always great compassion, and always perfect patience, and always perfect love. We have called out to you across space and time, and if you have heard the call, the connection, the relationship with us is already established. There is then no bridge to cross, merely the willingness to receive what is true. Jeshua is available for me always. Mary is available for me always. The one you would call my friend as Germain is available for you always. The entire family, lineage of masters that have sought through time to create a frequency and a vibration that can dissolve the effects of the negative thinking that you have extended out of your mind, that creates like the smoke and the veil around you. To dissolve that, all of us are available to you, and our number is legion. Rest assured, you are not alone, and in any moment you need only call upon me, and I am with you. I do not come alone. For some of you then, we would highly suggest that in those moments when you feel like you need a little help, when fear seems to be coming up, but you know you must go ahead, whether it be to spend golden coins to go visit some teacher, whether it to be the tithe to some church, whatever it be, whatever you think you're fearing, simply say, legions of angels and masters and friends whose number is infinite beyond comprehension, you who are sent directly of God to assist me over the ditch, come now, because I declare it, and I receive it, and therefore it is.
That's a pretty powerful declaration. And he's not asking like, if you guys have some time, if you're not too busy. I mean, he's asking you to declare it. He even goes further in a channeling I've heard him say to demand it. Because otherwise what you're really saying is, I'm not worth it. I'm not worth the truth. I'm not worth all the help that God would give to extend to any sleeping mind to help us awaken. And the number's legion. I mean, when he showed me one time the support that was being put towards the beings that were following this work, I was just shocked. I mean, I was like, it was more than my mind could imagine. And I was like, holy cow. I mean, there's, of course, infinite resources available, and we sit here in our finiteness scared to even ask for help. Rather than calling on it. And remember, it's their joy to come in response to our request for help. That's what they're there to do. None of them, Jeshua didn't wake up by himself. He opened up to what he called the Holy Spirit, and he got an enormous amount of help. I could never have done this, what I have experienced, without help. So open, open, open. I meant to mention on the previous two slides, he asks a series of questions. It's really important to not just blow by the questions when you're reading. Each of those questions has within it the potential to reveal to you what you're valuing that you might not be aware of, and to bring up into your conscious awareness what's been held unconscious so that you can consciously choose again. It's kind of like, there's a question that says, clean out the fridge. And if you just read right past it and don't actually go, oh, you know what? This said clean out the fridge. I think I better go look and see what's rotten and stinky and outdated in my fridge and get rid of it and make space for something. How many people have cleaned out the fridge? Isn't that a very rewarding exercise when it's done? You open that door, the light comes on, and you see all that spaciousness and things are organized. You just go, oh, that feels good. You can do the same thing with your mind, with your own beingness. So anyway, work the questions with your guides. It's very, very powerful to do that. So this pathway, which he calls the Christ lineage, is primarily a lineage, and he'll get to it a lot more in this pathway. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but that goes all the way back through ancient Egypt and was initiated at the dream for separation as a lineage of beings and masters who would incarnate throughout time and space in order to keep the thread consistently alive through time and space that we were one. And would serve in ways like Yeshua's incarnation that created examples, served like J.M. and his incarnation to channel this deepening of the way of mastery, like Helen Schuckman to channel the Course in Miracles, so that all those kind of resources would be available. The only thing I would caution you, because it's really easy to do, is get really personal about the guides. They're all the same I am consciousness. They don't run around in their beingness knowing each other as personalities like we do. Because invariably you are going to project onto Yeshua or Mary or Jermaine or anyone else your limitations. Because you'll start to create a personality-based relationship, because that's what we do in this world. You'll be so deeply rooted that they're an other, and you will ascribe to them powers that you believe you don't have, and you don't understand that unconsciously you're just perpetuating the separation even in seeking guidance. So don't get caught up so much about a specific name or a specific personality. Just know it's the infinite I am that may be expressing to you, as it was in my case with Yeshua, because that's what was open in my consciousness, that's what worked for me. But just, they're trying to get you to recognize you're the infinite same I am now that they are. That's what we're calling on them to help us with. And there's no resource that they do not have available to do that. So call on them. And if this is a pathway that you've imbibed in, meaning you didn't just dip your toe in it, but if you're actually working it, then there's a very good likelihood that this is your lineage. And there are lots of lineages, all in the house of God. You know, don't get caught up with that. I mean, Buddhism is effectively a lineage. Yeshua's Christ lineage. There's Native American lineages. The point is, God provides lots of pathways so that indigenous to your culture, there's something that's already a close vibrational match. Because to say that the whole world has to follow Christ just doesn't make a lot of sense, because there are cultures that just couldn't relate to this energy, but they can relate to the Buddhist energy or whatever. So the point is, it doesn't matter, but just use the guidance that's available to you. And know, as in Yeshua's case, as in Mary's case, as in Saint Germain's case, they were all incarnated beings in this world. So they know exactly the energies. They've all experienced the dream of separation too. It's just like, hey, they've got the whole map, so why not get their help? Because if you haven't noticed, haven't you felt pretty damn confused on your path? It's like, what's the next step? Well, they've got a map. Would you want their guidance, or you think you still got to keep stumbling around to figure it out by yourself? So they're always available to us. Always, always, always. So when you call upon Him, and He says, I am with you, and I do not come alone, because the I am, there's one I am. It's called God. It's called I am that I am. So you can't ever be apart from it unless you believe a thought in your mind which says, I'm this body and that's all I am, and others are apart from me. So it's not that He comes, it's that He can't go. We like the idea to be able to call on Him and then they come. The truth is, they already are I am, meaning they're with us all the time and they can't go. They don't have a choice. It's not like they're being really magnanimous about, I'll be with you to the end. It's just that that's the truth of it. And they've given up reserving the right to assume that that's not true. And that's all they're asking us to do, is drop that as well. So they will continue to call out across time and space. And if you've heard the call, the connection and the relationship is already established. When this pathway begun, he said, if you've started this pathway, you pass through a portal of initiation. So effectively, you got a red hot phone, like we have between the U.S. and Russia or back during the Cold War. You've got a hotline. The question is, do you use it? Or do you think for yourself? Your choice. You can think for yourself and try and think your way out of the maze of thinking, or you can just pick the phone up and go, what do I do here? What's the truth here? Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? The whole thing. Whew. Legions of angels and masters and friends. So just ask. You might ask right now, I want to see, show me a picture, show me an image, give me a feeling of that I'm always surrounded and that I'm not alone. And see what you see. Now, what if you did that 10 or 15 times a day just to help you remember? Just to help you feel that peace of knowing that other being is present with you. It's kind of cool, huh?
And then take the step that is necessary to take. It will not be your imagination. We will be with you. And the perfect end is certain. Fear is nothing more than the illusion you have chosen to value in order to experience what it's like to feel separate from love. That's all. You merely waved your cosmic magic wand and said, "Let there be fear so I can experience it." That's all. We love you. Beyond your present comprehension, we love you. Beyond all comprehension, even at what you might perceive to be your level of functioning, is the presence of God's love, which we seek to merely pour forth to you, that by giving we continually receive. You see, the laws of consciousness work for us just like they work for you. We're just more aware of them, that's all. That love which God is incomprehensible forever. The sunbeam can never comprehend the sun. I am a sunbeam to that sun. You are a sunbeam to that sun. We are therefore made of one substance, and that substance alone sustains us throughout eternity. And the greatest of joys is to surrender fully into allowing that light to light your way without ceasing.
I was working my pathway with Jeshua. I had a whole lot of conflict around surrender. Anyone else? I mean, surrender in this world, the whole belief in surrender is like a defeatist thing. Kind of like, just lay on the chopping board and someone hayaki or something. So what he worked with me with was, rather than surrendering, it was accepting. Accepting that this is true. Accepting yourself as Christ. Accepting your oneness with Him. Accepting that the light of God's consciousness can flow through you in every moment is the same thing as surrendering the idea of your body-mind. So for me, it just worked much better to accept the truth than to surrender all that was false. Because in accepting the truth, you had to surrender the false. Does that make sense? So if surrender gets you really balled up, that's just egoic resistance. It's okay. You can kind of get there another direction if you do the accepting route rather than the surrender route. But that doesn't mean you accept yourself as you think you are. You accept this to be true and allow it to be illuminated in your consciousness. And I love this. We love you beyond your present comprehension. And I always ask, well, if my present comprehension is this, what and it's beyond it, then what's beyond it? What's comprehensible that's comprehensible beyond what I currently perceive? Because clearly their comprehension is greater, appears to be consciously greater than what mine is, so more must be available. More is always available. It's not like any of that is hidden from us, except we limit our awareness of it. So we love you beyond your present comprehension, we love you. So if we go back 2 slides, how would you feel to love all beings beyond their present comprehension? If you want to receive it, you have to give it. What would it be like to love all beings like God loves them with perfect non-judgment? I'd suggest you start practicing, you start playing with that. Otherwise, when are you going to know? Remember, you're caused for what gets reflected in the mirror, not effect. And that's the laws of consciousness. And that's what this pathway is. It's trying to wake us up. The whole way of the heart was, here's the truth. Here's how creation really works. The way of transformation is going to be, how do you let go of all that's not like that and begin to rest in that? So you ask, you call on the legions of angels, so you ask, what do I need to do here? I need some help. And then you do what you're moved to do. And oftentimes I was given guidance that was not stuff I would have thought up myself. Or stuff I thought, oh no, I can't, I could never do that. That's nuts. I couldn't say that. That's just, but I started to be willing to trust it. Because I knew following my own ideas hadn't worked out so well for me. I mean, I'd had some success, but I was never truly happy. So be willing to listen and then be willing to follow it. And sometimes I would hear it, and if it frightened me too much and I could not make a choice, I could not make a decision, I could not take an action, I would wait. And then I'd ask for confirmation again to see if I got the same thing. So, you always get more chances. It's not like this is you're going to run out of time. It's rather you get to use time as effectively as you can until you don't need it anymore. But this is really important. We chose to value the experience of being separate from love. It was not a mistake. We were not cast out of heaven because we did something wrong. We're not ever going to be judged or punished for it. We as the Christ child made the choice to experience the dream of separation. And I can feel minds out there going, why? Why would we do that? That's stupid. Well, if you look at it from a body-mind's point of view, of course that's going to be the perspective. But just for a moment, know you're an infinite, omniscient, omnipresent, all-knowing, all-powerful being. And effectively, you're just playing with ideas. Why would there be any idea we wouldn't play with? Why not? That's really the answer. We don't like that in the world. The ego hates that. But in truth, why not? God's free, and so are we. This dream of separation actually becomes, when you wake up to it, it becomes the startling and incredible proof that God's love is unconditional, because we could even choose for this and not be judged. So there's a big investment in spirituality that somehow this world is bad and wrong. It's just misperceived. Nothing's bad about it. Nothing's wrong about it. No one has done anything bad or wrong. I'm not saying we don't do horrific things to each other, but it's a matter of which kind of point of view you look at it from. But if you're holding some idea that you're a victim and you didn't choose to be having this experience, it would be well advised to be willing to let go of that. And rather step into the power that if I chose to be here and I'm at choice about what I'm experiencing, then maybe I'll start to use that power and wake up and start to create differently. Whew. So let there be fear so I can experience it. And he says, that's all. He doesn't go into an extended discourse about it. He doesn't say it was a bad choice or it was a stupid choice or you dummies did this and then I had to come in there and rescue you. Not at all. He just said, that's all. And that's all, folks. I guess that's how this cartoon's going to end. But one of the greatest joys is to surrender fully into allowing that light to light your way without ceasing. Do you know how peaceful it is to know that I don't even have to think for myself? I don't have to choose for myself. I don't have to worry. I don't have to wonder. I don't have to doubt. We're all invited into that, and the only thing that keeps us from us is the belief that we can't abide in that consciousness. If you prefer to change that, and the greatest of joys is to allow fully that light to light your way without ceasing. It has been lighting our way without ceasing. We just turn the light to show us the darkness rather than turning it to show us the light of our own being. He makes this point, the sunbeam can never comprehend the sun. I am a sunbeam to that sun. He was a man just like the rest of us, or a woman. He was a body mind. It's not like he was already God. He got sent down here to fix things, and then he was just like the rest of us. He just woke up to the truth of what we all are. So if you're carrying around some Christian thing that, like he was the one Son of God and the rest of us aren't, that's all bullshit too. You can throw all that out the window. The one Son is the I am, which we all are. So get rid of this idea that he was God's child and the rest of us are not. That's just bunk.
And she that releases the world embraces the Creator, and he that releases fear remembers love. She that embodies forgiveness lives at peace, and he that relinquishes control knows perfect trust. And that awakened Christ that has surrendered the knot of fear called I rest in unlimitedness forever, in perfect communion with all of creation, and that union never ceases. It merely expands and extends as life comes forth. Creation comes forth, extending the good, the holy, and the beautiful. A flower that blooms in the spring for a day is the good, the holy, and the beautiful. The bird that alights upon your fence and sings its morning song has come forth from that infinite, perfect sun, and its notes extend the joy of the Son of God. The smile upon one of your brothers and sisters who has received a pearl of grace through you is creation itself, and is the presencing of the good, the holy, and the beautiful. The rays of sunlight that dance upon the oceans of this world creatively sing forth the good, the holy, and the beautiful. Every loving thought that you allow to be cultivated in the garden of your own mind extends the good, the holy, and the beautiful. Therefore, sing that song without ceasing, and be willing, as we close this year, to celebrate your willingness to embrace, with perfect deliberateness, your creativity and the power you have, the dominion over that which is planted in the soil of your mind. Prepare that soil well as you complete this year, that the pearls of grace might bring you into the way of transformation.
She that releases the world, again remember Jeshua defines world in this pathway as your seemingly separated consciousness that you call me, through which you see the earth out there and you project all kinds of meaning and value and judgments and everything else upon it. When he said heaven is spread over the face of the earth but we see it not, creation is everywhere. but we don't see it because we look through the filter of our own separate mind, our own separate world, our own small little being that says I. So when you release the world, when you release the filter, the scales, he said that in the Bible, the scales fall apart, fall away from your eyes. When you release that to say that what I know is true, what my senses tell me is what reality is, my past constitutes who I am, I'm this physical form, when all that starts to fall away, you begin to have a different experience of what's always been there. We just didn't see it. We just weren't experiencing it. So those people who think the universe or the world is like the earth is an illusion and it's going to disappear, that's not it at all. The world that you thought you were, that you have projected on the world, and just look, what are your opinions about the world? You've got them out the wazoo. Everybody's got these crazy opinions about the world. Is it a happy world? Is it a sad world? Is it a GMO world? Is technology getting too much world? Is it, whatever it is, you're seeing the kingdom of heaven, but you are giving it a meaning to be something other than what it truly is. So as you release that world and you release all the values, the trick is we look at all the things we value and like, okay, I want to change from valuing no golden coins to valuing lots of golden coins. Ultimately, the thing that you have to truly look at is who's the I that wants to reserve the right to value or not. That's the ego. That's the separated consciousness that you call me. So you're welcome to move the shell pieces around as long as you want. But at some point you're going to have to say, I'm no longer going to value me as the chooser, and I'm going to allow the one to choose for me. Make every choice for me, choose every word, take every breath, the whole thing. That's when you can truly transcend the world and embrace the Creator being the source of your being, and you can bring heaven to earth. And Christ comes to dwell amongst us as you. Not as a distinctly other consciousness, but as you. And you release that fear and you remember love. Fear is you in your own thoughts. That constitutes the identity that you think is you apart from God. That part which seems to think for itself. That's fear. Have we not all experienced fear only in that consciousness? If you don't want to experience that fear, then release that valuing of yourself as a separate, distinct being, and let that which is love, one mind, the sun radiate through you. And you're not going to lose anything. The only thing we lose when we release our story, is we let go of guilt and fear. Is there anybody here who would miss those? Guilt and fear is all you're going to lose. That's it. You'll keep all the creative capacity. You get everything, and you really give up nothing. Whew. So release the fear called I, that not, and rest in unlimitedness forever. Because when your I goes away, all the yous that you think are out there disappear, and there's just one thing left, and it's all happening just fine. Creation's rolling along just fine. Nobody's trauma in crisis. The orbits of the planets don't wobble like, oh shit, this is a big deal. And you just begin to rest in because you realize I'm not the maker and the doer. That's all happening. And I'm going to be able to rest in that knowingness. And you can rest there in perfect trust. The good, the holy, and the beautiful. He goes on, and he'll do that in this pathway over and over and over. The good, the holy, and the beautiful. The good, the holy, and the beautiful. That what's not good, holy, and beautiful is the fear thoughts called I, which we hold in our minds. That's what's give rise to every conflict, to every judgment, to every war, to every disease, to every murder, to everything that seems to be wrong and bad about this world, because we don't know who we truly are. We don't know that we are the good, the holy, and the beautiful right here in the middle of the good, the holy, and the beautiful. Whew. And then he goes on to say, it's not so much about feeding the 5,000, although who knows what can happen. The smile upon your face to someone else, they've received a pearl of grace. And it's not just that when you smile at them as body, but when you smile at them and metaphorically wink and you go, I know you're God. You may act like you're not aware of it, but the truth is still true. And He's never asked me or anyone else that I know of that's been on His pathways to like go out on a soapbox and start preaching to people who are enjoying their sleep. He says they'll come. When they're ready, they'll find their way to a teacher, to a pathway, to whatever. So it's much simpler. And if your mind has a bunch of ideas that I won't be awake until I can manifest bread in my hand or perform some seemingly miraculous thing, that's just another mind fuck trying to slow you down. You can let all that go too, because what is holding this thought that I'm not awake because I can't do this? That's the little I. That's the world you release. And you rest into thy will be done, and then if it's done in some miraculous way, you too will say, I didn't do this. Love did this through me. And then you give credit where credit's due, and you go about your way. Whew. So every loving thought that you allow to be cultivated in the garden of your mind extends the good, the holy, and the beautiful. And can you cultivate thoughts in your mind that greet every being you see with joy, wonder, and amazement and gratitude, rather than judgment, condemnation, and not liking or liking what they're wearing? The thing is, however you're greeting people now, and I'm just really talking about in your mind. We're fake all the time. We say things to people that we don't really mean. But you're only seeing the world because you have cultivated and chosen habitually, you've trained yourself to judge. For me, with women, most of my life, there was an immediate, would I sleep with this person or not? That's just dumb. But, I know some people can probably relate to that. Or is that a person we would want to spend time with or not? Or do we like the way they dress or not? What assumptions do we make of people just about how they dress? The point is, it's God. Every single one of them. Every single one without exception. How are you greeting them? You've only done that because you've chosen to do it that way. You're free to choose again and see differently. And then they'll reflect something very differently back to you. And when you start to do this, I remember Cindy telling me coming home from the grocery store that she made this conscious choice in the checkout line to see this person as Christ, to see all beings as Christ, and you'll see something. Something inside them will get it. They won't consciously know, but you'll just know they hold eye contact a little too long or a little longer. You'll feel something. There'll be a deeper embrace that goes on. And you're free to do that all day long. Part of my pathway, He would send me out into public places, at the hospital, at the mall, downtown, just to sit and do this, to practice. What does my mind want to say, and what do I choose to say instead? What does my mind want to project on that person, but what do I choose to see in them instead? And I don't know if you haven't noticed, but you got all day long to practice. Because every one of those thoughts you're projecting a judgment on someone, that's an opportunity to do something else instead. And it's just a matter of practice, 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 practice. You want to be a master? How do you become a master? How did each and every one of us become a master ego? Practice, 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 practice. We got so good at it, we did it effortlessly. So now it's just a matter of repurposing all that, so that you can abide in the good, the holy, and the beautiful. And for those of you who will be continuing on into the way of transformation, certainly recommend that you do what He's suggesting here, if you wish.
And with that, beloved friends, by the time you hear this, you will have celebrated your birth date as those sunbeams which are expressed through these stories of the birth of Christ into the world. Seeing that it occurred 2,000 years ago, for me, Is it not time now for you to let that same birthing be fully completed in you? Therefore, we bring this message to a close for now. Remember that it has been our honor and our joy to abide with you, and there is a whole host of beings encircling you every moment you remember that you have chosen to answer a call that has been traced to the very mind of God, who has reached out to call his creation, you, back to himself, so that you can deliberately extend love without ceasing. Yes, we will have that which is called the question-answer period, but for now, we bid you peace, and we give you love. We hold you with perfect patience, knowing the truth that is true alone about you, and we will never leave you. Peace then be unto you always. Amen.
So when they were channeling this pathway originally, this lesson was delivered in December. So what he's referring to here is Christmas. That's actually, celebrate his birth. It's to celebrate simply Christ consciousness was fully birthed into the world. So if you find yourself in this room, watching this video, or on an authentic spiritual path, it's because God itself has already sent out the wake-up message to you directly. So it's already God's will. When will we actually surrender or allow that will to simply unwind us and do the things that we're asked to do in support of that? Because God's already chosen, which is really nothing more than you before you incarnated. But the point is, are you willing to do this? Are you willing to follow the authentic pathway, release the I that you think you are, and wake up to what Christ consciousness is, and then allow that to fully embody you? You don't want to keep any little segment of your mind or your life for yourself. I mean, why would you want to run one portion of your life with finite consciousness while unlimited consciousness is running the rest of your life? It just doesn't make much sense. But you'll find there are places you're trying to do that. I wanted to keep choice for myself in some ways. I was glad to give God all the problems, but the things I liked, the things I thought were going good, I wanted to keep for myself. Whew. Let it be fully birthed and completed in you. It's your birthright. He was just the first one to let it be fully done. It's going to be done in everyone. Why not now? And for those of you who are listening to these tapes at home, the question and answers that came with this lesson were very powerful. You might go back and read or listen to those again. So the truth is true, and it's only true. That's the only truth that's true. God is. Or I am, without all the stuff we fill in after I am. And that's it. And despite the fact that this says next week we're listening to the channel of lesson number 13, my extension and expression of the way of mastery has come to a close. We will not be deepening the way of transformation through me. I've been given a series of revelations that I will be moving on to some other expressions of the incarnation of Christ, and that the weekly work that we've done through the way of mastery has come to a close through me. This is given this last 12 lessons year that we've done this. This will be the 49th night that we've spent together, the 49th video. They're all available free online. And if you use them, they will give you an incredibly broad and stable base on which to move into the way of transformation. But the way of transformation is about you. I could share my journey in coming to the realization of the way of the heart, but the way of transformation is your journey, your pathway, your walk. You be the one that deepens it. You be the one that creates it. You be the one that embraces it. If you choose. If not, you can enter the way of transformation 2 decades from now, or I don't know how many lifetimes. But I have had great joy in sharing my pathway through this material with you. And I'm deeply grateful because I got to sit and see the mirror of love looking back at me every Tuesday night. And it has been incredibly, incredibly powerful and enriching experience for me. Cindy, thank you for reading so much. When we first started to do this, it was like a second event every week because we were doing just Friday events at the time. She wasn't so sure about it, but thank you for doing all the reading. Gordon, thank you for being the cameraman. Turn that around so we get a shot of you. You've never appeared. Yeah, you've never appeared, so you're going to get some airtime in the video this week. So this is Gordon, who has been our cameraman and microphone man extraordinaire for the last year. So thank you very much, my friend. So any questions or comments tonight?
We just want to say thank you. It's
You're
been
welcome.
a great joy for us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, all of us.
You're very welcome. It's been my joy to do it. We're all answering the same call.
Yes.
We're all answering the exact same call. Our pathways are all guaranteed for us. I'm just joyful to have been able to share in this way.
Yes.
Yes. Anyone else? Love offering. When this work, my own awakening, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago at this point, and our public work began 3 years ago, all we've ever done is ask for donations. I'm happy to value that you are an unlimited being and to be open and receive your love and your support in the ways that can support Cindy and our family and this work of One Who Wakes. So if you would please check in with your guidance. Leave a donation in the basket on the other side of the fireplace. If you're watching at home or you'll watch this later, go to onewhowakes.org. In the upper right-hand corner is a give button. You can click that and make a PayPal donation. Between now and the end of April, I'll be doing absolutely nothing. I have been asked to simply abide in great spaciousness, great peace, and welcome beings of that legion who are going to come in support of me on my own further embodiment of Christ. So we may pick up waking up to the movies after May. Who knows? After April, I don't know. I am told that I will still be doing private sits. If anybody's interested, you're welcome to come sit with me privately, or we can do it on Skype or whatever. I'm so grateful that our Creator said, hey, if you want to come home, I'll send you all this help. And I'm glad I heard that message. And I'm glad I said yes to my brother Jeshua, who showed up and fulfilled his promise, which he makes in this knowledge other pathways, that he's made the journey already. It's already done. We don't have to repeat it, but we're happy to just take his advice, take his guidance. And I'm so grateful that I did. We love you truly, truly, truly with an absolutely infinite love and a perfect, perfect peace. We give you our love, we give you our blessings because you are as we are. I'd love hugs on the way out if anybody's interested.